Okay, we are live, or we are recording on Real Talk with the Bluntness, and I am here with Warren, master of all things cannabis, rum, cannabis journalist. So Warren, I think it would be best if you introduced yourself and gave us your virtual resume, so to speak, of this wild, adventurous journey you've taken so far in life, and how have you gotten to cannabis?
I got into cannabis when I was 12 years old. I went to see a Grateful Dead show in Jersey City, New Jersey. Actually, and I have a beautiful little Stonedware pipe, which is probably. Do you know the girls from Stonedware? They're from Portland. It's a wonderful little. Well, I'm going to light up, so it helps me in my rapport. So
Sure thing. It's been quite a week for people. Why not?
it's really nice. And the herb that I'm smoking is from Green Bodie. So you may know John. John's in Oregon.
Yep, I love that.
I have a lot of empathy for Oregon, and Oregon is a part of. If I was going to live any other place in the United States, it would probably be Oregon because it reminds me so much of Maine. The similar type of individual, rugged and strong-willed, and back to the land, and a lot of people from who are ex-hippies. So anyway, I grew up always around people who were older than myself, hippies, if you will. I was born in 1961, so my contemporaries were people who weren't necessarily my age. They were those who were older, and they grabbed me along. We went to see 300 Grateful Dead shows. So it was there was a lot of things that went along with that, and I've been there, done that. But that's what brought me into cannabis. What brought me into the world of vices and spirits and rum and gin and whiskey. I've written a book on whiskey as well. Was the fact that I needed a job, and I'd worked in the restaurant business originally. Not even originally. I worked in television originally, but when that was the first failure of my life, and I needed something to do, and I washed dishes in a restaurant in York Harbor, Maine, the York Harbor Inn, and they didn't need any cooks. It was a pot scrubber, and I needed a job. I needed to not be in New York City, not working at Danceteria, not working at Channel 13, not working at Channel 11. I didn't know who I was. I was probably taking too many drugs. And it was a good thing that I left there and I moved up to Maine for a reason. But being poor in Maine in the 1980s was no place to be. And it was exciting and thrilling in the summertime, but in the wintertime, it's something entirely different. And even though I lived on and off in Maine throughout my life, I still wasn't I was a flatlander. I wasn't a Mainer. Like when I lived in South Carolina, I was a Yankee. I wasn't a Southerner. What they didn't know about me is I had family who lived in New Orleans in the 1700s, but that wasn't important to them. The important part was this: I'm from New Jersey and they're from the South.
It's so funny. I see parallels. First of all, I live in Oregon now, as I just told you before we went on, and I love what you say. Out here is you have the same vibe as I do. Live free or die. New Hampshire's my home state. I always say it's like New Hampshire on steroids out here. That's just the mentality.
I would agree with you, but I would disagree. Like the part of of southern New Hampshire, that's a world unto itself.
Yes, it is.
Up towards Mount Washington, it's just a little bit different, and I have a lot of experience in that area. When I was in college, I had a college friend who had a motorcycle. We used to load up on LSD and ride motorcycles on the Kangamangas Highway. That's crazy stuff. But
it's a beautiful highway. I can't imagine the colors the way you were riding that highway.
It's just a bad thing. Anyway, I try to do the best job I can, and I'm not doing the psychedelics any longer. I'm an old man now, but well preserved.
Vices, you're well preserved. You still have vices, and my career started in journalism, and I very much relate to being around older people and hearing their stories. And I always say I'm the outsider where I live, but I kind of like that because it's always the journalist in me. How did you get into the cannabis journalism? How did that work out?
I have the best. It was completely organic. I was down in New Orleans for Tales of the Cocktail. It was 2017. Top of my game as a brand ambassador for Marussia. that had just recently ended, and I was doing freelance work at that time. I was still traveling, doing Ministry of Rum, judging judging rum events and Rum XP, judging rum events for them, and I was drinking too much.
Mm-hmm.
As you see me now physically, I think I'm doing okay. I was probably 60 pounds heavier. So
Wow.
you'd wonder where it was, but it was there, and I felt it. And I know that I was 60 pounds heavier because of all the sugar that goes into distilled beverages. It's there. You'll never see an ingredients label. You might see a health statement, but you're not going to see an ingredients label on a bottle of liquor. So as a brand ambassador, as a master mixologist, my job in life was to get people messed up. And I didn't want to get them messed. Well, maybe I wanted to get them messed up, but the point was that they had a good time, and I had a good time getting them there to have a good time. And the rum that I was selling was something named Maison, small producer, 5,000 bottles for the entire world per batch. I mean, the rum companies out there now, they'll do 5,000 in a day. I mean, or in an hour. It was really a micro boutique company from Russia, and it brought me to the Moscow Bar Show, where I taught a master class in rum, which is the one of the greatest experiences of my life, and also going up to the top of the FSB building, which no Americans get to go into, which is like their NSA, their CIA combined. That's where Putin's office is, and I made cocktails for some of those individuals.
Wow! So you are a master.
I'm Russian. Even though my family hasn't lived there since the early 1900s, still, when I flew into Moscow and came through customs, I gave them this elaborately decorated letter which introduced me. My last name goes back to the 13th century in White Russia, Putin's White Russian. I don't subscribe to their politics, but sometimes you have to keep your mouth shut in places, and this was one of them. And when I gave them my passport, the passport officer said, completely deadpan, looking me straight in the eye, "Welcome back."
Stop it. What?
No, I'd never been there. But they knew who I was. Because my grandfather passed away, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, and he was 100 and some odd years old, and his cousin or uncle, someone close in, was hung as a partisan by the Nazis for being a partisan, and so that's a known history. That's not something that my grandmother lived to 105, and when when I told her I was going to Russia, she said, "Why would you want to do that?" She was born in this country. She wasn't born there, but she said, "Why would you want to go there?" Now I know. Now I know.
Wow.
Rum brought me to cannabis, because the fringe of rum, the people involved in rums are hippies. They're rich hippies. No one's poor in this, and no one opens up a rum distillery if they're poor. It takes about $10 million to do it. Wow. So that there's not, you could say that's probably a lot of money to spend. It's how much it costs.
Incredible.
And to do a boutique product, you have to expect to spend that. So these aren't poor people, and they're people with yachts, and there are people, and if you know people with yachts, it's not their only vacation home.
No, it's not their one gig, that's for sure. No. So it seems like the people in the rum industry, it was a natural kind of transition to get into this. And
younger ones who are my age, who are almost 60, and we may not look it, we may not act it, but we're that age, and it's some people inherited lots of money. I was disinherited, or disowned, I think is a better word for it. But I'm self-made, so I don't have to apologize for who I am and what I've done. I don't have to tell you that I worked in a bank for 20 years to pay off my dad, who I owed $2.5 million to, and paid back every bit. And and then he never spoke to me again. These things, you write a book like Cannabis Cocktails.
Right. Yes.
It doesn't put a whole lot of money in your pocket, but it's what it leads to in life, and it's opened up doors that I never thought were possible.
It sounds like you're rich in experiences.
Well, not always good, but it made me the person who I am today, and I'm not apologetic for it, but I want to be able to say that I'm doing what I love because I don't have to say to anyone, "Is this okay?" They didn't listen to me when I was a kid. They're certainly not listening to me now. They're dead, so I don't have to get their approval. It's unfortunate. I wish I had their approval a long time ago, but that's just not going to be. So.
It's not. It sounds like you've made the best of bad situations and good off of good situations. And I wanted to go to you're Mr. Cocktail Whisperer. So can you tell me a little bit about how?
I have to tell you, that's what cannabis does. Cannabis, it's the plant. When we talk about things that our parents left us, they didn't leave me money, but I inherited my dad's eyes, and I got his glaucoma, unfortunately. But it's fortunate because it got me a card here in New Jersey that if I get caught with weed in my car, they're not going to arrest me. That's a big deal. In California and on the West Coast, they've destigmatized it, but here it's still illegal. So I have to say that. I mean, that is the thing that I will say that I accepted, but I accepted it because I had to, not because I wanted to.
That makes sense. So you're talking about the plant and your relationship with the plant. Since you lost those 60 pounds, you've had these experiences in the cannabis industry, and you've integrated it into your mixology career. Can you talk a little bit about that and the shift from the alcohol to cannabis? What is that? It seems like it has some important personal meaning.
It was for good health. I mean, I had to stop drinking. I couldn't put my shoes on. That was a really good indicator right there that I was, sugared out.
Yeah.
And it was time to, and that was July. That was at Tales of the Cocktail in July of 2018, and that was the last time I took a drink of anything distilled. I drink wine and beer, but I'm not I haven't tasted whiskey since then. I mean, it's like I wrote a book on it, and I can't even get it past. I don't walk into bars. I don't feel comfortable there. Cannabis changed my life in a way that was unexpected. And it was a way because I think that there's more authenticity with cannabis than there is with alcohol, primarily because the people meeting in alcohol are all drunks. How can they're drunks, period. There's no making it up.
You're always on shaky ground.
And especially at the level that I worked in, it was always a lot, or a lot more than a lot. And all those years of Tales of the Cocktail, it was a lot more than I've ever seen, and I never want to do that again.
So it was a good community. It was a better community.
This is an authentic community. It's a community of like-minded individuals, and the ones who aren't get weeded out pretty quickly, so to speak.
Makes sense. What are some of the craziest or most interesting stories in cannabis that you've fallen on? I imagine you've kind of toured grows and things like that, and met some characters who are a little bit different.
I will never comment on characters who are different because it's usually me that's the character who's different, and I'd rather not be spoken about. So it's, I think that it goes back to when I was a kid dealing high-end California cannabis to my prep school buddies in college. And I wouldn't want them to know who I got it from, and I would hope that they weren't pointing out, me out at Emerson College when I was sitting on the wall. Oh, that's the guy to get, dime bags from.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't want that. I wouldn't have wanted that, even though that's what happened. But I wouldn't have wanted that. So it's the same thing in the modern vernacular. I know lots of stories, and I worked in liquor stores all my life. So all the drunks, you don't talk about it. 20 years in private banking taught me you don't talk about it. You only get one chance, and you blow that, and it's over. So I have lots of stories, but we're not talking about them.
Fair enough. How's this? I respect that very much. That people show you who they are, and when they do, you should believe them. So I respect your integrity. Can you speak to what are some of your favorite strains or products right now? What are things that you go?
Couple things, and I'm looking right here. I love the products from Dro. I'm not a big concentrates person, but I find what they do is really, really nice. Don't ask where I got them from.
Okay. Didn't hear it.
Selfies from California. These are little tiny mini joints. I love these. You know, it's just me. No one else smokes around me. So I think that they weigh out to be, I think, 0.25 or maybe a little less. That's perfect. That's exactly what I should be smoking. I shouldn't be dabbing. That's bad for me.
Right. Right.
I got this the other day recently. I don't know how it got to me. Your Highness.
Oh, I've heard of
it. 5 questions. I love the packaging. And this is
I
called
do. Some of these packages are amazing that people come up with.
I love the plastic. I wish it was biodegradable, but at least it doesn't have the thing where you have to open it up to open it up. That bothers me.
Okay.
I love getting things like this. This is from around where you live.
Okay.
That's Green Bodie.
Okay. All right.
Love that. So I'm happy about flour over oils.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a big whatever vaping fan because it affected my taste buds.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that COVID had similar symptoms to what I experienced about 2 years ago, where I lost my sense of taste and smell for 6 months because I was using vape cartridges with THC in them. And the technology hadn't really been, it wasn't as safe as it is now. And I believe that it affected somewhere. I went to the ENT, the ear, nose, and throat, and they said, stop using the vape. So I did. So for me to go back to using it, even though I get samples and stuff from it, I don't feel comfortable using it because I don't want to lose my sense of taste and smell again. As a taster, it's too much time lost for me.
I was going to say that would probably mess up your whole palate for all of the
in fact, I wouldn't be able to taste, the matzo balls that are coming up in a week or so.
Yeah, because that's not something.
I blow that. I couldn't taste roast chicken for the longest time. It was awful. And my ENT was French, and I said, "Can you imagine not tasting your mother's roast chicken?" And I saw in his eye, he was like, he was about to cry.
Oh,
he knew.
He knew, yeah. Well, so flour, and I wanted to ask you specifically about cannabis edibles. There have been a lot of strides there. I had worked with a brand called Chill for a bit, and they came out with a mixer, but there are all these edibles coming out and ones that can go into drinks. What do you think about the edibles market? And as a mixologist, where do you see that industry going, the cannabis mix?
I'm coming out with my own beverage in California in the next couple months. I mean, we're in September, October, November. I'm hoping by the beginning of November, it's on the shelf. I mean, it's a lot of work and
congrats.
Thank you. It's a nanotechnology, which is the very most up-to-date technology that's being used. And I have a specific strain, which I'm mixing a craft level mocktail, if you will, it's a drink without alcohol. It's not one of those insipid, anti-intellectual, beer-flavored seltzers. Some don't even have beer, but they look like beer. Can't believe that stuff. When I spoke at the Cannabis Drinks Expo, they were expecting me to, pat everyone on the back and said, "Oh, you're doing such a good job by selling seltzer." I said, "Cannabis drinks suck. And here's why. Because if you want to drink water, I'm going to open up a bottle of Pellegrino, and that's it. I don't want to drink water. I don't want to pay for water.
Right.
I think it's a crime that I have to pay for water at all. But the fact is that people pay for water, and they have found out a way of putting THC in that water, but it's sold as something else than what it actually is. Instead of selling as THC infused seltzer. That's all it is.
Gotcha.
I'm making a craft mocktail with ingredients like Pickett's ginger beer syrup from my friend Matt Pickett in Denver, Colorado, the Boiron Vergère French lime puree from France. So I'm using that as my citrus element. 2 different types of aromatic bitters. One for Joe Fee, who died last year. Brothers bitters. I'm using his lemon bitters. And the other named for my other friend, Gaz Regan, who also passed away last year, sadly. but I'm paying homage to my friends by including their products in my drink, and bringing their memory back to life and my past life as a bartender into a very modern mango train wreck live resin cannabis infused beverage, which hits.
Wow. What is it going to be called? The brand? What can be
called? Klaus Apothicaire, named after my 1850s German drinking gnome, who I've traveled all over the world with. I even brought him to Russia. So I'll show you a picture and see if I can get it off your screen. Did I email you a picture of it? After the show, I'll email you a picture.
Yes, I will include some photos that you sent me as well in the written piece on the Bluntness. That's exciting. So, are you starting in California?
I'm sorry?
Is the product going to be in California to start?
It's going to be only in California. There it is.
Okay, amazing.
Isn't that beautiful? My friend John Mammoth designed it. It's a gorgeous product. We're really excited about it. I'm really excited because I've had 8 failures, and this is the first time in my entire life that I've had a chance to succeed at anything, because everything else that I thought that I was doing for my heart was taken away from me, and then I was made to feel really guilty over it. So this is my first chance that I've ever had to make something of myself. So I'm happy. It's hard. I mean, when you come from an ultra wealthy background, I wasn't raised to be rich, but you get it in your mind that you want to live a certain way, and it's not my fault that I can't afford that. I mean, I work very, very hard for what little I have, and I want to have nice things. I don't begrudge myself the nice things, but it's hard work. And I want to be able to be in a place where I'm not taking so much out of my savings and putting more back in rather than removing. And this is a tough lesson to learn when you're in a place in life where people they're running for all the exits. They want to get out of the rat race of working, and they're going to retire soon. I mean, in New Jersey, people retire in their late 50s, early 60s. They're gone. They're finished. They're out of here.
It's different.
I'm jumping into a new career.
I love that, and I love how you're pulling in all different pieces of your kind of adventures and the wisdom and all of the relationships by paying homage and memory to your friends. I'm excited for you. Congratulations.
Thank you. I have to. I'm compelled to, because no one else does. And there are plenty of people out there who've been with these individuals, and they probably had deeper relationships than I have. But it's my chance to do this because I feel strongly about the influence that they had upon my career. And they were always kind to me. And when I was in Germany in October for the teaching of the Berlin Bar Convent, and I taught a class on cannabis and beverages, and I went to seek out something. I did something I never do in Europe, and I've been all over Europe, maybe not 100 times, but a lot of times. I never sought out Americans when I go to Europe. I want to be around people from the area, from the, meeting people. But when I was at Bar Convent, I wanted to see all the Americans who were there, and they were all friends of mine. And I wanted to feel as if I was interested in them, not just on social media, not just in an email, but really, we were in Berlin, and the chance that I had to say, "Hi, how are you? It's glad to see you." And Joe Fee was one of the people who I was glad to see. And then when I got back, I learned that soon thereafter he had died. So, I have a picture of him with my gnome holding it, and I'll send that to you. Yes,
please send that. I would love to see it. So I want to ask, when are you going to move to the West Coast? I'm a little surprised you're a Jersey.
That there'd be great upheaval in Warren's life. No, I have an opportunity to run the company, and one of the things that I have to do with my contract for my partners is to be involved in the day-to-day, the sales part of the business, bringing my personality into each can. Each can is 8 3/4 ounces. And it has 10 milligrams of live resin THC. But what does that mean? It has a personality, and that personality is me. So I want to do ride-alongs with the delivery people. So someone orders it, they get me to bring it to the door. I mean, who else is going to do that? But I have to do that. And maybe I'll have an opportunity to shake up a drink right there, and I'll have some nice chilled cans, and I'll shake it up and make a drink right then and there.
That would be incredible. So do you think we'll see you on the road in the next year or so?
Yeah, I want to. I can't wait. I wish, COVID really screwed things up for me. It really did. I mean, I'm busier than ever. I cannot tell you all the people that want to be in Forbes and have me interview them. That's a fabulous thing. But I want to get out. I want to, I'm at the peak of my life. I want to see and do and experience and bring this energy and this good feeling forward, not just on a conference call.
No, seriously.
That's like how I learned about rum. You don't learn about rum by reading it in a book, and you certainly don't learn about wine by reading it in a book. You learn about it by drinking it, by tasting it.
You do.
And this is the same kind of way, and I feel like I'm just raring to go and waiting to do it. And I know there's a lot of things going on which are beyond my control, and I have to be patient. And I think one of the things I learned from the I Ching growing up, learning about the I Ching, was that you should be patient, and I'm being patient, and I'm helping many people be something that they've never thought of possible in their lives. It's time for me to find something that I never thought possible in mine as well.
It's
being patient.
It's interesting you say that, because I think that is kind of, I have to tell you, I've had several people say, my Forbes feature by Warren came out. I'm so excited. We spoke to Lauren. I'm friends with Anna Horry as well. And everyone was so excited. But having done journalism, I can relate to, you're telling other people's stories and collecting all these experiences. So I'm very excited for you that it seems like in time it will happen.
And it's in their voice. That's what I try to, because I have the transposition skills of a worm. You can cut me in half, and half of me will think one thing and half of me will think the other thing. And then I don't remember what the original question was. And that's just because I smoke so much weed. But and everyone's laughing. They said, yeah, that's right.
Well, what's your astrological sign? I'm curious. I love astrology.
I was born May 20th, 1961 at 6:35 a.m. I just gave you the keys to the kingdom. Taurus, Gemini, and the cusp.
I was gonna say you a little bit of a Gemini in there. You got the twin, so maybe it's not all the 420, Warren. Maybe it's a little Gemini in there too.
I don't know. I just like to say that it's hard work to be the person that I am today, because this is the authentic Warren. This is the person that I always wanted to be, and it wasn't easy. I mean, I had a very privileged upbringing, but don't blame me, because it involved taking care of the horses and shoveling a lot of shit. And when the horse got colic, it was me that had to stick my hand, where. And rich kids don't have those experiences because they had someone else do it for them. I never had it done for me. I think that's the important difference, and I never shied away from being who I am today, because it was a tough path. It was not one that was filled with things given to me. I had to pretty much scrap and save my whole life, because everyone around me were living like billionaires, and they were.
It can be complicated when you're a little bit of a different mentality than the world you're expected.
Creative. And I didn't become a lawyer like my dad, a tax lawyer, so that was a big disappointment. There are doctors, there are judges in the family, I think. I'm pretty sure. And then there's my cousin who's the big sports agent, Drew Rosenhaus, and I hate sports. So what was I going to do? Be friends with Drew? I don't think so. My dad growing up always compared me to him. He said, "You'll never make the kind of money he did." Well, I guess I won't make the kind of money that he did or does or whatever else he does. And I'm happy for him, but I'm not chasing after him, and I'm sure he's not chasing after me. And it's just a happenstance of a bloodline. Mm-hmm. And so I'm pretty lucky in that stead, because I don't, as I was saying, I don't have to go back to anyone and ask them permission for what I've done. Nope. And written 6 books, and that,
It's incredible.
for anyone they would say after one book is incredible, but 6 books is really, really incredible. And they're all on things that I wanted to talk about at the time, because they're things that people want to know about. They want to know about the booze that they're drinking. They want to know about the grass that they're smoking. They want to know about how to take that cannabis and turn it into a delicious beverage that doesn't piss off their neighbors. They say everything smells like skunk. Well, if you're drinking a made cannabis beverage, it doesn't smell like skunk. Right now I'm infusing a bottle of chartreuse. I mean, chartreuse is magnificent, incredible, magical stuff. Right. And when you mix 2,800 milligrams of THC into a bottle, it's even more magical.
That sounds incredible. It sounds like a different green fairy to me.
Well, the green fairy actually was absinthe, but that's another story.
Yeah, it's the new take on it. But I love it. I think it's incredible. I love hearing. I'm very lucky. I come from a family that is saying, be creative, be who you are. So anybody who's seeking their journey and doing it, it's incredible. Where will we see you in 5 years, and where do you think the cannabis industry will be?
In 5 years, I hope to be on the next chapter of Klaus, and that would be taking Klaus national and to legal places, and really focusing on the goodness that the little gnome guy is. I mean, he's a good little guy liked by most, and if I can live my life as that type of person, then I think I'm doing okay. And what was the second half of the question?
Cannabis industry in general. Where do you think it will be?
Hopefully, the people who brought us the word stigma will be dying out. So, that's I would like to see it as acceptable as going out for a craft beer. You can go out and get a pre-roll of craft cannabis and enjoy it in the same way. That's all I'm asking. That if we can handle it like craft beer, there's so many beautiful brewers doing incredible things with hops. Craft cannabis, same thing. They're doing incredible things with genetics and incredible things with adjuncts. And I love cannagars. That's one of the topics of things that I love to talk about, is the art of the cannagar. And I'm just lucky to be able to do what I love and to really follow my dreams. And that's so important to me. I don't know what else I would do at this point in my life. I was thinking of becoming a sculptor. I was thinking if the BS of the cannabis industry got too much more anguish for me, and I have a lot of anguish from it because people don't act right. I thought I would go to Italy and become a sculptor, even though I have no aptitude for it. But
what would you sculpt?
They could teach me.
That's incredible. What is it Michelangelo used to say, that was it him where the piece was already there and he was just uncovering it when he sculpted? There was some sculptor, or with Rembrandt, I don't remember, but it was like, oh no, the art is there. It's my job to reduct and take away and reveal it. So
I agree. I agree. In a lot of ways, the cannabis industry is like being a sculptor, because you have to forge art out of nothingness.
Wow. I was going to ask if you had advice for anyone who was passionate and needed a little bit of advice. And that's good.
Well, my advice is do what you love. Find out what your passion is. And if you can find your passion, you'll never work a day in your life. And I'm fortunate that I've had jobs that I hated, but I always was working at my passion. I worked in wine stores and gourmet shops ever since I lost my fresh pasta business in September of 1989. I may not have been working in the business that I was trained to be in full time, but I always walked around people who were chefs, and I was a private chef. I took care of people's wine cellars. I've had a lot of fun. I've eaten a lot of great food and drunk a lot of great wine. And those things happen not because you keep your mouth shut and say, I don't know anything. No, I'm going to talk about myself. I'm going to tell them what I know. And it's pretty quick to know that, when you have someone standing in front of you selling you a bottle of wine who's, here's the picture of me doing Ministry of Rum in Oakland in 2010. And who gets a chance to do that? Or teaching in Russia at the Moscow Bar Show, a master class. Who gets to do that? Or has an employees only tattoo on their arm. Who gets to have that? I mean, that's incredible. People don't they don't get. But there's a whole story in it, and that's part of my authenticity, and that's why I know Klaus is going to be a success, no matter what, because there's a great story behind every great product.
Mm-hmm.
Unleashing that story and telling that story and making it irresistible.
Wow. It sounds like it will be, and I hope that you do get on the road to change distribution. We got to fix, there's some distribution issues in California.
There's a lot of issues in California. All I can do is come out with something that's not been done before to help the market.
Yeah.
We call it bartending, raise the bar.
Yes, I absolutely love that. Where can we keep an eye to see what you're up to with Klaus? That's how you pronounce it, correct?
With Klaus Apothicaire. I would say my website, cocktailwhisperer.com.
Yes. Okay, we will be sure. And I'm going to share some of the photos you sent over. You have so much going on, Warren. Is there anything else that you want to tell us about that we should keep an eye out from you? Because I would not be surprised if you moved and started the legal market in Africa somewhere next month.
Oh, I'm trapped here in Morristown. I think I'm as far away as an airline ticket that I'm afraid of flying right now. I don't know what the next thing is, coming down the road. I know I have to be in California and formulate my other 2 SKUs because we have 3 of them altogether. And one of the drinks is a zombie that it predates the zombie by 100 years. It's Klaus's zombie. So it's a drink that I created that predates the beach bear or whatever the famous zombie inventor was. I predate it by 100 years, and I know that all the rum people are going to be up in arms. But guess what? That's why I'm the cocktail whisperer, because I do these riffs on the classics that they're just brilliant. And this one is going to be no less brilliant because it has THC instead of rum. Now, if you want to put rum in it, I got the rum for you.
Okay, we have to evolve, right?
What's that?
We have to evolve. So if they
evolve, yeah, well, that's what I wrote the book Cannabis Cocktails, Mocktails, and Tonics, because I talk about mixing craft spirits in these beautifully produced mocktails that suddenly have alcohol in them and THC, and you get this thing called a crossfade. And that is the key to my fame. But that's another story for another day.
Okay. Thank you so much, Warren. It has been incredible to catch up with you, and I'm really, really excited to see where you go. And I will put your website, all of your social handles in the story so everyone can follow you.
That's wonderful. I had a great time.
Thank you.
Really nice. One of the nice shows I've done recently.
Thank you. And hold on after we end the recording, and we'll sign off personally too. So thank you, Warren, and good luck with everything.
Cheers. Peace.
Cheers.